All right, and a hearty shout out to all of you in the Rabyd Nation, whether you are a paid citizen, a tourist, or just a person wondering whether to immigrate to said country. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to Friday night, where we spend a lot of time reacting to things and talking about things, depending on what is the topic of the day. And today, I think we're gonna react to a video. I've not chosen it because I think it's like the world's best video, but I think the information in it and what this group is trying to do is kind of indicative of what we see in society as far as the church is concerned, and it brings up a lot of good talking points. But we'll get to that in a minute. In the meantime, there are several announcements. Let's see. Discords is up and running. Uh, I think there was some voting about the movie night, so I think we'll see what happens there. And I don't know. Earl's here, so Earl, Is the test on for the movie night tonight, or is that next week, or whatever? I just need to know that information. So, but yeah, all right. And then, of course, there is a goal in chat. If we reach that goal, I will wear whatever hat you guys choose in the poll for the rest of the stream. That's my way of fundraising for the channel. So thank you very much for that. I think the only other thing is next week on St. Patrick's Day will be my first Tuesday broadcast, first Rabyd Atheist in the news kind of broadcast. So we'll see what happens there, and I'll be glad to. So we'll be glad to deal with that. All right. Let's see. Let's see who's here before we get started. Fred is here. He's been here several times this week. He just wants to deny it. Plausible deniability and all of that. The cranky elder gods have sent their emissary. There's a lot of those. Nathan is here. Welcome, Nathan. I killed Earl, the lap in which our Lord naps, is here. So on and so forth. Paul is here. Good to see you, Paul. How are you doing, man? Haven't seen you in a while. Elizabeth is here. Travis is here. Rimmer is here. And Martin is here so far. And I'm sure we'll get some other visitors, but well done. Tonight's video is done by a channel called Christian Faith Archives. I feel like their goal seems to be to just like archive what's going on in the church, but also offer suggestions on how to fix it. So it is a Christian channel. So there's definitely a heavy overtone. This is the problem. How do we fix it kind of thing? But I thought for us non-believing types, we could kind of look at what's actually going on in the church in North America, because I think it's a very interesting phenomena that's happening, that despite Christian nationalism, despite all the other things, well, yeah. So my time is 7. Yeah, it's always 7 now, Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock. So yeah, we just changed our time too, so it's a little bit different. For those of you doing time changes and not doing time changes, it might change it for you. I keep hoping we'll get rid of it. Good to see you, Kyle. All right, I'm gonna, let's see. Everything's relatively fine, but also bad. Also starting to going to sleep early, so I missed a lot of. Okay, there you go. There you go. Yeah, time change. Yeah, Earl's written on that, and she wrote a really good piece on her blog once about the time change, how it costs us. So, all right, let's get into the discussion. Let's talk about what's happening in the church in North America and what is so alarming to Christians. Going on, what's going on there? So let's pull this up.
Of Catholics attended.
Oh, man! I gotta learn to stop this stuff. All right, there we go. There we go. Let's turn the volume back up. Let's see. Oh, we got Somebody else came in. Evan, good to see Evan. And Dragon Rider, outstanding. All right, this video is by Christian Faith Archives. Its title is 15,000 Churches Closing in 2026, The Crisis That No One Sees. It's kind of a video review, reaction, all of that stuff. But they're going to talk about some statistics that are getting very alarming to church people in North America. And they're going to also tell a few stories that are indicative of some of the things that are happening inside the church in North America. I don't know. The visuals aren't super duper important in this one because he's just talking about things. There's some, there's some closed captioning, so I'll leave it. There we go. Hey, Wolf, good to see you. All right, for the test, we should be good to go. My original plan for the movie fell through, so I had to order a different cable to make it work. That will be here tomorrow. Okay. All right. So we'll do the test and then we'll see what happens, and then we'll be good to go later. But yes, so if you're into having a movie night with a bunch of crazy flufflers, then here we go. That is open cache. Okay, all right, let's get going here. Let's turn the volume back up and let's go.
15,000 churches will close in 2026. That's not a projection. That's not a worst-case scenario. That's what's actually happening to American Christianity right now. 15,000 congregations that survived wars, depressions, and every cultural shift of the 20th century won't survive this year. That's 41 churches closing every single day, 287 churches every week.
Okay, I want to stop right there. That's a very interesting number because I remember when I was in the Assembly of God, we were talking about how the Assemblies wasn't growing as a denomination very fast, like it had stagnated at that point. And there were a lot of alarm bells going off then. Now, this isn't talking about stagnation anymore. Like 15,000 churches closing in a year. He gave the statistics, like it's like 41 churches every single day will close. That's pretty alarming, giving how much they're super duper. I get it, Evan. I get it. But you got to understand, to Christians, this is an alarming statistic because weren't they having a revival like just last week, like last month? Weren't they talking about the Gen Z revival? Weren't they talking about all the new influx of people? I mean, their whole goal, like a Project 2025, was to get control of the government and make Christianity the standard of the nation and all this stuff. And yet, here we have this thing, this thing happening. So it's like, don't exact. Oh, okay, I'm off. But how off is it? Okay, 52 times 287, 14,000. Okay, I'm off by how much? I'm off by 76 churches. Okay, there we go. Pretending to be remotely relevant. Okay, so these video content creators are like going, okay, this is what's happening. Yeah, it backfired on them pretty hard, I think is what happened. Like this is when people asked me about Project 2025, I was relatively unconcerned. Why you got to be concerned about this? And I'm like, no, I've seen the church do this kind of thing before, and it always backfires on them. So you're always welcome to do a question. So the Netherlands is also 58% secular. I can see that. But here we go.
By the time you finish watching this video, another church in America will have voted to close its doors forever. Pastor Michael in Ohio told me about the moment he knew it was over. He'd been serving the same congregation for 19 years, a beautiful brick building built in 1952 by families who gave everything to establish a Christian witness in their community. Last month, the church council met for the final time. They had $847 in the bank. The building needed $30,000 in repairs they couldn't afford, and average attendance was 12 people with an average age of 68. They voted unanimously to close, and people wept. He told me, "I never thought I'd be the pastor who closes the church, but every pastor I know is watching their church die in slow motion."
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. I do think it's AI generated. There aren't any citations in the description. I agree with you, Dragon Rider, but I think the statistics are accurate based on my own studies. So I think it's and some of the stories I think are indicative of possibly being true. Like this last story about the pastor closing his church a couple of months ago, that could be very well accurate. Because this story, I closed a church myself. Like my very first senior pastor at that church closed immediately after I left. So I knew that this problem was going on way back then. That was like the early 2000s. So the issue of church closings, and I know a lot of you are like, oh, yes, I'm so sad. Like Evan's like very sad about this. Yeah, you always wish the bad guys luck in their stupid decisions. Yeah, well, yeah, but that's the thing. Like I think the thing. Yeah, not citing sources is still questionable, but I think the stats are accurate, and it's more of a discussion starter for me anyway. But my issue at this point is like, there's a lot of people that go into the ministry for a career. Okay, there's a lot of people that establish their churches long-standing. What I think is alarming to a lot of Christians is you have these long-standing institutions. Like when we get to the denominational stats, this gets even more interesting to me because you might yell at fundies, not being as fundamentalist, but there's other churches that are like feeling this effect. And I, as an atheist and an anti-theist, I'm kind of there with you, Evan. I'm not sad about this. I actually think it's a good thing in a lot of ways. Um, I think human beings would be better without religion. I am just very interested in how they think they're going to react to this phenomenon and what they think the problem is, because I think that they have misidentified what the problem actually is. All right. In light of Matthew 6, I'm praying. If you announce you have a daily ritual that turns out to be saying a prayer, that isn't the Lord's Prayer. Are you breaking the commandment? Anyways, yes, you are. What happened in my case, with my church closings? The church the denomination had come into that church and kind of taken over, even though that denomination, like the Assemblies of God, you have three statuses of churches. You have the ones that are ruled by the denomination. You have ones that are kind of half and half. They're called district advanced churches where they rule half and half. And then there's the other ones that are completely autonomous. They're autonomous congregations and the district doesn't get involved with them. Well, this church was autonomous. The district came in and shut them down and turned them into a district supervised church, complete supervision. And at that point, a whole bunch of people left. Well, when I came in, it had already been through all that. And one of the problems was there were several people within the church that kept trying to maintain control of it, and nobody liked them. And by the time I left, there was 6 people because I was required because of the denominational rules to enforce membership requirements. So once you all of a sudden I'm looking at tithing records, I'm looking at whether or not a person believes fully in the 16 fundamental truths, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you have that issue all the way through. So I'm not sure what ultimately happened. I do know that the week after I left, they voted to vote themselves out of existence. So it happens. So yeah, I know. There's problems with this video. There is. I'm going to point some of them out. Like there's a couple of moments where like something doesn't make sense, but I do think the stats are pretty accurate. It's because those are easily to look up. So yeah. Imagine no religion. Like, yeah, it's easy if you try. Like it really is. But yeah, but this story of this pastor like closing his church, whether it's accurate or not, I could write a fictional story about it and it would still be believable. It should become an atheist theme song. That's probably true. But yeah, like it's a common story, and I have that story. This pastor has this story. It's happening everywhere. So, and what makes Christians sad is a lot of these are community hubs for people to get together. And I think that's more the issue for a lot of them, but they're just having trouble. Okay. And so this video is going to try to analyze some of the problems and figure out some solutions, but I think we'll have some fun kind of saying that's not really the problem and that's not really the solution. So
Today, we're investigating the greatest crisis in American Christianity, a crisis happening right now in every state across every denomination, affecting millions of believers. 15,000 churches closing in 1 year is more churches than exist in 47 states. That's the equivalent of every single church in California shutting down in 12 months.
Yep.
But here's what makes this catastrophic. It's accelerating. In 2000, approximately 3,500 churches closed annually. In 2010, it was 6,000. In 2020, it was 10,000. And now it's 15,000.
Yeah, and I looked that part up. That's pretty accurate. Like, you had 3,500 closings way back then, and now it's accelerating. It's getting more and more every year. Um, and so, one of the things that's happening in it from a cultural standpoint, and I think most Christians are alarmed by this, is you really can't assume that the person you're talking to has any Christian background anymore. Like, you just can't do it. So, I don't know about Ringo. You should care because I think it becomes an interesting conversation with former believers because it's an interesting dynamic that's happening in North America because I thought all of this was going to be over and there was going to be a revival, and I just don't see that happening. So there's a part of that where they're not falling for the bullshit anymore, but it's like what the predictions are saying then is, and I think this video is going to go into that. Let's continue a little bit because I think he projects into the future what's going to happen here then.
By 2030, we could see 20,000 churches closing every year, and by 2040, entire denominations that shaped American Christianity for centuries will functionally cease to exist. Subscribe now.
Well, that's the other issue is how many churches are being opened? Not very many. Because where would you open them? Like that was an issue in the Assemblies of God. Like we're going to plant this many churches in this many communities to combat this problem. They called it the 1990s the decade of harvest, for instance. And when they tried to strategize about this and they started, well, we're going to start new churches because that's the way we used to grow before. The problem with that is a lot of those new churches would close within a couple of years. So there is a dynamic here that's not being addressed. But I think the increase in church closings is very interesting. And I think we could probably counter that with church openings a little bit. I'm just not sure what the stats are on that because denominations, while they do release a lot of stats, they don't always talk about everything. So yeah, like what you end up having is like you'll close down a church in a certain community and then you'll say, hey, we're opening a new church in the same community. So you basically took a 2-year hiatus and started over. Like that happens a lot. So yeah, there is a bias that isn't being addressed. Like I said, there's a lot of problems with this issue, and those are discussion points as well. So, well, yeah, because they're doing it in the midst of massive church closings. Like churches are closing all over the country, and yet we're supposed to be pressing for this thing that I don't think anybody wants anymore. So,
because what I'm about to show you will change how you see the future of American Christianity, and your church might be next. Let me show you exactly what's happening across American Christianity, denomination by denomination. The Methodist implosion. The United Methodist Church, America's third largest denomination, is in free fall. In 2020, they had 30,000 churches, and today they have 23,000. That's 7,000 churches gone in 6 years. One Methodist district superintendent in Tennessee told me, we're performing triage because we can't save them all. And every month I get calls from churches asking for help, and I have to tell them there's nothing we can do.
Okay,
The
I want
Methodists' split over sexuality didn't save anyone.
okay, okay. I want to talk about that one because I'm kind of close to that when I'm a graduate of Asbury Theological Sem, which is a lot of Methodist pastors would go to Asbury, even though it's independent, because it was one of the places where you could go as a Methodist pastor. But everybody talks about the split in about sexuality and LGBTQ kind of dealing a blow to this one. But I think that that's a very interesting admission by the bishop because what he's saying is something like when I was going to Asbury, the Methodist Church had like these deep financial pockets. So they weren't really worried about some crises because they could handle a church closing and they would still have money. Or if a church got really small, they could still maintain the building because they had church funds in the Methodist Church. That's a very interesting admission by a bishop to say, I can't help you. Because that tells me that even the Methodists are running out of deep pocket money. And that's saying something. Yeah, they had a very nasty split about this. It was very ugly. Okay. And I think that contributed, but it's, yeah, there's a lot of people haven't been using it. So, but it's like Christianity does have to, as Bren points out, does have to adapt or die. The problem with this particular adaptation is it internally it became a problem. So yeah, wine doesn't do anything good. No. But it's like it's the Methodist Church admitting that they don't have money to help a small church keep open is a big admission. That means the deep pockets in the Methodist Church in the United States are gone. And that's saying something. That's a historic first, if I ever heard one, because they've always had like this smart business practice that kept them a reserve of money. They've always led like the circuit riding of churches where a pastor will do three services on Sunday morning, allowed three small churches of maybe 12, 20 people to support a single minister. That's gone. And that's a big admission for the Methodist Church to make. Like this is the split hasn't just divided them ideologically, it's destroyed their funding process. And churches without funding are going to eventually disintegrate. It will happen. So that's a denomination. So last bastion is forced. They will force Christianity on the nation, but it means nothing, including death, denial of rights. Yes, that's kind of what happens. And we're seeing that. So like people happily, yes, they will happily use law, justice, politics. But I think it's kind of the last hurrah. And I think there's something in this video when he starts getting into the average age of the believer in the United States, it gets very, very interesting because the observation he's going to make is it's becoming attrition. Like it's basically mortality attrition. Yeah. Yeah. When you lose your tithing money, and you're admitting you don't have the finances to help the small church stay afloat, that's a big admission by the Methodist Church. Like if a Methodist official is admitting that, that's a problem. So, so yeah, there you go. Hey, Michael, good to see you. All right.
Conservative churches left thinking they'd thrive, but they're struggling, and progressive churches stayed thinking they'd attract young liberals, but they're declining faster than ever.
Yep. It
The
didn't work out either
Presbyterian
way.
meltdown. The Presbyterian Church USA had 11,000 congregations in 2000, and today they have 8,800, losing approximately 200 churches per year. Average Presbyterian congregation size dropped from 180 members in 2000 to 89 members today, half the size in one generation.
Okay, I'm not as big on the Presbyterians as far as knowledge, but if those statistics are true, and I wouldn't doubt that they're true, that's a major denomination in the United States that's been around like since the founding of the country, having major problems, and that's a very, very interesting problem for them to have. Um, but yeah, losing a couple hundred churches every year, dropping in churches like the Presbyterians. So I don't know. Hey, Philbert. Let's see, what is it? I don't know. It's watching the church decline. See, me and Philbert are former AOG, Assembly of God boys, and I remember when I was in the AOG, they were talking about this problem back then in the 90s. So, so there you go. But if the press, I don't know how many former Presbyterians I have in the audience today, but if you were still in the Presbyterian church, they would be talking to you about how they're closing 200 churches every day. The average congregation size has now slipped below 100. And so it's getting worse and worse at a very rapid pace. So another Kirk and Scott. That's a very interesting question because I wonder how the Presbyterians are doing in Scotland. Like, how are they doing? Anybody know offhand? Oh, you're a former Presbyterian, Earl? Yeah, yeah, they're not doing well, Earl. You want to go back and help them out or help them decline. Yeah, but yeah, the Presbyterians are not doing well. You know, shrinking 200 churches a year, that's not good when you only have like, there's what, 8,800 left, he said. So at that rate, you're going to run out of Presbyterian churches pretty quickly. So former Orthodox, remember preach talking about them. Yes. Yeah. You won't, it doesn't, they're in a real bother. Okay. So they're having even more troubles than the American Presbyterian Church. Outstanding. No theists trying to jump this one. Yeah, I don't know if too many theists want to talk about how they're losing. Like, like the propaganda is we're growing and we're having revival in the United States, but I'm not seeing it. Like, I'm just not seeing it. So, let's see. How do you see a not agenda overall turning out over this 3 years? The Christian nationalist movement, I think it's their last hurrah, like as far as having real power. And they had it for a bit, and I think they're starting to lose it already because nobody likes a self-righteous Christian telling everybody what to do. That's just, the church is always like, if I would pull back and do my poli-sci, the church has always done better when it hasn't been politically involved in the United States in particular. When the church has just been, we're just going to work on the kingdom of God and we're going to just grow our church and we're going to do, compassionate works like soup kitchens and stuff like that with the people. They've always done better when they haven't been as politically involved. And I think it's going to blow up in their face. Like, I think it's already starting to. So half of Scotland is irreligious. Well, I think they're staying away, Elizabeth, because we're talking about them and they're not doing well. All right, let's see. I'm sure there's a Presbyterian minister that's got to talk about this stuff for the Presbyterians.
Presbyterian pastor in Pennsylvania told me, we have the building, we have the history, we have the theology, but what we don't have is people. Our youngest elder is 57 years old. And when I look out on Sunday morning, I'm looking at the last generation of this church. The Episcopal extinction.
Okay, I want to stop there for the Presbyterians. Yeah, if your youngest leader is 57 years old, that's a problem. Okay, because at that point, you're kind of admitting you haven't been relevant to younger generations for quite some time. Like, you are, yeah, the revivalist is real as the resurrection. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, when I heard those reports, I'm like, I'm not seeing it with what's happening with the church. Like, the church is still in free fall decline and it's getting worse. If there's a real revival going on, that should not be. Like, it should not be happening. So they're supposed to be tingling like crazy. Yes. Never underestimate an incredibly loud and stubborn minority. Yeah, that's probably true. Scott, cranky. So, Scott, the church attendance dropped dramatically when they stopped baptizing sheep. Yeah, I don't know about extinction, but yeah, they always do this. Like, they always flex their muscles when they're not doing well. So The Shakers, actually, I think they have died out. My my mother a few years ago went to a Shaker village somewhere. I can't remember where she was. She was on a personal vacation, and she said there were only two people left in that particular colony. So they're probably gone, and they were old. So yes, yes, and does not actually get actual help factors in. I think in a period where it increasingly hardships, religion has no real influence. There's nothing they can give the people. Yes, that's kind of what's happening. What about the Wales? Are we? We're talking about the Welsh. I was about to pull out my gay land Wales picture, but I might still do that later. All right, so I think they're going on to the Episcopal Church. How things in the Episcopal Church in America? Let's find out.
The Episcopal Church is facing potential extinction within our lifetime. In 1960, they had 3.4 million members, and today they have 1.6 million, losing over half their membership in 60 years. More alarming, their median age is 69 years old. In 20 years, most of those members will be dead, and they're not replacing them because confirmations are down 80% since 1960. The Catholic crisis.
Okay. Episcopals, any Episcopals, former Episcopals in the crowd? Like that, I thought the Presbyterian numbers were bad, but I think the Episcopal Church numbers are even worse. Like they're in full free fall. They're very old. Their median age is 69. Oh my God. That's just like that. That puts your average people, that's not good for any organizations. So, but yeah, like, so there's this problem in America with those are like three of the major denominations, like the more older denominations in America, and they're all not doing well. So they lost over 6 years with little old me. Yeah. Okay, there we go. See, I knew there was Episcopalians in the crowd. Like the Episcopal Church has been not doing well over the last 60 years. So yeah, I agree. Like this has been going on for quite a while. Like when he starts out, he's talking about the 3,500 that closed in 2001. There were church closing numbers that were in the negative into the 90s. Like it started in the 90s, but it's just now you can really see it. Like you can really see the decline. Like before that, you'd see, okay, they lost 100 churches this year or whatever, or 50 or 10 or something like that, but you weren't growing anything. So this could be misleading, but it's like the one thing that's trending in all the stats is it's not going well. So let's talk about the Catholic Church. That's always fun.
Even the Catholic Church, the largest Christian denomination in America, is hemorrhaging members. In 2000, 45% of Catholics attended Mass weekly, and today it's 33%, a 27% decline in one generation. Since 2000, over 3,000 Catholic parishes have closed or merged. A Catholic priest in New York told me, "We're closing parishes that have been here for 150 years, and now we're selling them to developers who turn them into condos and breweries."
Okay, the condos and brewery thing, anybody think that that's a bad thing? Like, I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think the brewery is a step forward. The thing with the Catholics I've never understood is it's all about going to mass. Like it's always I never. Well, I'll say yes. I was wondering when somebody was going to make a physics joke. The question, what should we ask, is now what will take over? I looked in Australia data on religion. Since 1996, it's been in constant decline in religious community. Immigrants maintain it mostly. Yeah, he's going to talk about the immigrant problem too. See, I noticed in the 90s, my grandma's missionary Baptist church was significantly older than the average age. Yes. Yes, gee, I wonder why. Yes, breweries are much better. Yes, I'm thinking it's better. Yeah, breweries are in decline too, which makes me sad. That actually makes me more sad than this. He'll get to the sexual abuse thing, I think. at some point. Like, I think it's later in the video though.
Evangelical surprise. For decades, evangelicals were the success story. But between 2006 and 2021, evangelicals lost 40% of their members. The churches that were supposed to be the future of American Christianity are now declining faster than the denominations they replaced.
I want you to think about that. Like, there was a large prediction back in 2000 that evangelical Christianity would be the thing that saves American Christianity. Like, it was, it was a, it was big stories in the early 2000s. I remember, because I remember as a pastor, I was getting this stuff crossing my desk all the time. And it was like, yeah, evangelicalism is what's going to replace all these mainline denominations. So, it, and then all of a sudden I started getting the stats recently, and it's like evangelicals are free falling faster than the ones they, like the Episcopal Church, the Catholics. The evangelicals are losing members as fast as anything else. I just saw several stories about several mega churches that recently closed because they just couldn't maintain stuff. Joel Osteen's church, even in Houston, is facing financial difficulties. Like, the evangelical television church movement is fast crumbling apart. And it's interesting though. Yeah, it's not really denomination. It's kind of an umbrella term, but when you look at it, so really? So Pope Leo's boyhood church and school are closing. Yeah, well, they'll probably they'll probably throw money behind that problem because he's the Pope. So who is devout and makes it easier to weed out the people who are willing to commit atrocities. Okay, that's fair. As an Evan, I can attest that not all Evans are jealous. Okay, they're not jellical. Okay, very poo-poo, yes. I can't hope but feel the loudest MAGA supporters are the most in doubt, conflicted. I know I talked a big game when I wasn't living up to what I espoused. Personal endeavor is not politics-wise. Yes, I agree with that. I hear a lot of loudness from the church, but I don't see a lot of results. So there we go. Maybe. Yes. Yeah, mega churches are in trouble. I saw there was a story that I just watched of one mega church that closed. It had been there for like 100 years. It's like one of the first mega church. I think it's the Akron Baptist one. I remember studying the Akron Baptist Church when I was in Bible college as a way of church growth and mass church growth, because they were one of the first mega churches. Well, they're closed now. They moved to a smaller building on the other side of town, and the mega church building was cleared to make room for free property. So that's significant. And like, they were active and open just in 2018 before the pandemic. So in the last 7 years, things have not gone well in that one. So there you go. Habercookie claims so that. Hey, Jimmy, good to see you, Jimmy. Entry Christian branches means that it's getting less inclusive as a whole here. Yeah. So, yeah. Most of them are non-denominational, but you could classify a lot of them. Like the ones in Houston that I saw, they were attached to like the Baptist church. So there were some Baptist affiliations. So, but there were also some like Pentecostal, charismatic type churches that were independent. I don't know. That one I don't know. But yeah.
Statistics don't capture what's actually happening, so let me show you the human cost. The last service, Grace Community Church in rural Indiana held its final service on January 12, 2026, just 2 weeks ago. The church was founded in 1889, and for 137 years, it was the center of community life. 58 people attended the final service, most in their 70s and 80s, and they sang Amazing Grace, the same hymn their grandparents sang at the church's dedication. People wept openly. Pastor David, who'd served there for 31 years, said, "This church baptized me, this church married me, this church buried my parents, and now I'm the one who has to close it." After the service, they locked the doors for the last time, and the building will be sold, probably demolished. One elderly woman, 84 years old, told me, "My great-grandparents built this church with their own hands, and now it's gone. What do I tell them when I see them in heaven?" The young
Well, I don't know. I don't know if that crying lady was staged or what she was actually crying about. Okay, like it's like the problem with this video is I think they use a lot of stock video footage or AI footage sometimes, and they're basically like trying to create an emotion or anything. But yeah, like it's the issue though with the church closing, because I've been part of one and I've seen others close, is like there is a community of people that like this is why they get together every week, and that's kind of gone. And I can understand some sadness of leaving some things behind, but it's like the real issue with the church closing is this whole thing is just collapsed. Like people just get tired of it. Like this church has 58 people. I knew Assembly of God churches that were smaller than that. It's all a question of they're losing the will to go on. Like there's when you see a church close, it doesn't matter what size it is. It could be a mega church that just decides to shut down. And what you're getting is just they are losing the will to continue. Like it's not a numbers thing sometimes when a church closes. It's just more of a they don't want to do it. So see, when they began to lose their flock, they should have removed some pews and set up some urgent care facilities and food kitchens. Yeah, they probably should have. Vanishing can open up that now. People can reset. Yeah, I mean, they can reset what they wanted to do. What do I, I saw that too. Like, this is the kind of problem that I have with some of this stuff is like, what do I tell them? Well, you had to close the church, what do I tell them when I get to heaven? It's like, you're not going to tell them anything, okay, because they're dead and you'll be dead. Yeah, it's like, yes, heaven isn't real. Yeah. Homeless shelters would have been a great option. Yeah, maybe. Quentin Tarantino film definitely is footage. So there you go.
Young pastor's dilemma. Rachel graduated from seminary in 2024, 29 years old, and full of passion for ministry. She was called to a small Presbyterian church in Michigan with 45 members and tried everything to revitalize the congregation. Nothing worked. In 2 years, attendance dropped from 40.
Okay, I was suspicious about this picture. You want to know why I was suspicious? They're like trying to pass it off as a church, but I think I know where this is. This is the chapel on Asbury College's campus. So like it's Asbury University now, but I think that's the chapel on Asbury's campus. And so it's right across the street from the seminary where I graduated. And I'm like, that looks familiar. so I don't think that's a church. That's why I said I have some problems. Why do I dress like a satanic high priest? I don't know. I just wear black. I like wear black shirts all the time. So, and it's not a satanic symbol around my neck. It's a Vuknut from Viking mythology. So, but more of a Viking symbol than anything else. So, but no, I don't really have any spiritual affiliation. Yeah, I think the reason they use this one, Rimmer, is because the chapel on Asbury's campus, when you look at it, it has a very distinctive, very Methodist vibe. Like the Methodists love their red brick and columns. Like, let's be fair. Okay. Well, there you go. Lectures was less. Need to go out and dance more. There you go. But yes, like I looked at this and I'm like, now wait a minute, that looks familiar to me.
35 to 31, and the church council started discussing closure. Rachel told me, "I did everything right, but you can't revitalize a church that's already dead." She said, "I'm 29 years old, and I'm going to be the pastor who closes this church with $100,000 in student loan debt. This
Okay. I got to stop right there because this is one of my messages of my channel. To those of you who are theists and thinking about the ministry, go get a degree in something that can make you money first, and then go to seminary if you're still into it. Okay. Take 4 years, go learn something useful where you can make money, because I'm going to tell you right now what's going to happen if these trends continue for people wanting to go in the ministry. You're going to end up broke. Okay, because we can sit there and talk about mega churches and how much money those pastors make, but the average pastor, the pastor on the street right now, is looking at 30 people. He's making a salary of $25,000 to $30,000 a year, and you're in trouble. Okay, like, so I'm going to tell you right now, go. Like, you need to go find something better to do that'll make you money, that'll pay off that student loan debt. Don't go into the ministry straight. Like, do something else first, because you're going to need it. Okay. If you don't want to be an atheist, you don't want to listen to me on any of that, just, I'm reading stats. I'm using my degree in ministry. I'm looking at the stats for church. Go get a degree in something that'll actually benefit yourself and society and make you money. And then if you still want to go into the ministry, go into the ministry, but do that first. So, okay. So there you go.
isn't what I signed up for. The building they can't afford. First Church in suburban Ohio has a beautiful building built in 1978 when the congregation had 800 members. Today they have 73 members with average attendance of 42, but they still have that massive building. Annual building costs are $120,000, and the building is eating them alive. Last year, the air conditioning failed, costing $35,000, and they had to take out a loan. The pastor told me this building was supposed to be a tool for ministry, but now it's a millstone around our neck because all our money goes to keeping the lights on. Within 2 years, they'll close, not because they lost faith, but because they couldn't afford the building.
Now, that's another problem that's happening with church closings, is just basic affordability. It's very expensive to keep one of these buildings going. My last church is a historically marked church in Hersey, Michigan, and it's 4 stories tall with the steeple. It's made of white pine, and it was built way back in the 1800s, in like 1880. And so it is incredibly difficult to maintain. Like, it's one of those buildings, like, you have to dump a major amount of cash into it to keep it going. And when you have an older congregation that can't give a lot of money, yeah, it's going to go down. And so you just have this continual problem. So there you go. So, but yeah, one of the things that's contributing to the church closing is not necessarily a loss of faith or belief in Jesus. It is also, there you go. But yes, yeah, you got your bingo card ready. And thanks, Martin. All right, I'll be back here in 2 minutes. I'm going to pause right here because I want to talk more about this video. We're getting through it pretty good. So, but I'll be back in about 2 minutes. So I'll see you then. All right, and I am back.
So why are
Okay, so at this point, and I'm back. Welcome back. Appreciate the break. It allows me to reset a little bit. Um, yeah, like there's an issue of why would I, as an atheist, care about this? I'm very interested to see how the church is going to react because I think that can affect me. Like, okay, they got buildings closing, they got denominations losing people. Um, I've seen the Christian evangelical reaction to all of this. What I haven't seen is very much the mainline Christianity reaction to this. So there you go. Thanks, Martin. Martin. Okay, Martin. Martin. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it. And Fred. Okay, Martin started it. Okay. All right. All right. That's two. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I'll see you later, Nathan. Have a good day, man. Appreciate it. Hey, there we go. Good to see everybody. You can rewind it. Or you front. I depends on my mood. Okay, so at this point in the video, he's going to get into the why, like why they think these churches are closing. Now, for those of us who have left the church, I want to see how much they demonstrate signs of actually listening to people who have left the church or whether they're just making shit up. I want to hear what the Fluffle has to say about this, for especially those of you who have left your churches and denominations. Like, do you think they're accurate about this, or do you think they're not? So,
15,000 churches closing this year? Let me show you the 5 major causes. Because 1, demographic collapse. American Christianity is dying because Christians are literally dying. The average age in most mainline Protestant churches is over 60, and in the Episcopal Church, it's 69. When a church's average age is 65, in 20 years, most of those members will be dead, and there's no one to replace them. Gen Z is the least religious generation in American history, with 57% never attending religious services.
now okay. So this one, I think this one's actually kind of legit. Like they haven't, it's attrition. Like the biggest thing the church is facing is attrition. The fact that Gen Z is the least religious of all the generations is telling because it's like I thought there was some revival going on there, but apparently not. No, the gens, well, yeah, the babies are the alphas, like the supposed generation alpha is kind of more the young kids. Gen Z is like teenagers and young adults, so they're starting to hit their young adult stride behind the millennials and all that. So but like they're the least religious of the generation. Like literally, I've seen statistics where over 50% of them have never attended a religious service. Period. Full stop. So yeah, it's like a big fan of Gen Z, obviously. Like, well, they are into zombie stuff, so I think it's pretty good. So yeah, but yeah, I'm not. I'm not going to say that that's a bad thing from an anti-theist point of view that I have. I don't think that's a bad thing that they haven't attended a religious service because what they're going to notice is they're not going to miss it. So there you go. Pick that one up, right? But yeah, okay, that's an accurate one. They're 15 to 29, okay, roughly. So, but they're like the least religious of the generations that have come because they're like less than 50% of them attended a religious service, period. So it's not far from Dragon Ball Z. But I think this one's actually legit. When your average age is climbing up into the 60s, you are literally one generation off from being eliminated, like just from death. Like it's, I think this is one of those legitimate things that's just in their face. Like they haven't replaced the younger generations at all with believers, so they're running out of people. So
One denominational leader told me, "We're one generation from extinction." because if we don't reach people under 40 in the next 10 years, we're done. And right now, we have no idea how to reach them. Because,
Good
2,
thing.
cultural irrelevance. American culture has changed dramatically in 40 years, but churches haven't. Most churches still operate like it's 1985 with Sunday morning worship at 11 a.m. and Wednesday night prayer meeting. But Americans don't live like it's 1985 anymore. They work weekends, they have kids in travel sports that play on Sundays, they're exhausted from 60-hour work weeks, and they're drowning in student loan debt. One church consultant told me, churches are trying to reach 2026 Americans with 1985 methods, and it's
Okay, I have to say, I do find it a little humorous, a nun doing virtual reality. I think that's hilarious. I think that somebody should meme this. I do think that's very, very funny. Oh, oh my gosh. Let's see. Many churches haven't addressed the main issue. Many who attended in the past simply don't believe it anymore, and the church's apologetics is not convincing to them. Yes, and I think that's kind of his. He's going to call it relevancy. I would call it not backing up your claims with actual evidence. Okay, I think the real problem is not that the churches have become irrelevant. It's just that since 1985, information has become more accessible. I think Daniel Dennett predicted this. I need to pick up another copy of Caught in the Pulpit, but when I remember Caught in the Pulpit, when I was reading it while I was still a pastor, he made the remark about the new transparency that the internet is providing us. Like if a pastor makes a claim today from the pulpit, it can be checked in the pew by some kid with a phone in real time in seconds. Okay, so you don't have the luxury of being able to control information inside the religious community. And if there's one thing that churches haven't adapted to, and apologetics has done an absolute piss poor job of trying, it's adapting to that. Like they still continue, like you'll still have apologists still making the same stupid claims that they made 20 years ago, acting like it's new stuff. And like somebody hasn't debunked it 50 times. So it's kind of like that. Can only tell people this is absolute truth so many times before the notice keeps adjusting to protect whatever it is. Yes, that's the other problem with adaptation is it does look like you're compromising, quote unquote, compromising the gospel. But yeah, so it's one of those aspects of it. Hey, John, good to see you. Holland's still there. It's good because I want to visit someday. So. Well, they have ideas, right? They're forcing them in the world. Yeah, they do have them, but it's hard. I think the church is having a hard time in practicality. Like the politicians can do whatever they want. A church has to meet the rubber meets the road community needs wherever it's at, and they haven't really been doing a good job of that. And when they try to give an answer, they're given the same answer that the apologists gave back in 1985, and they haven't adjusted their data. Like it's bad. Like I've done more apologetics videos on this channel than I care to think about. And it's always like you're still using the same argument that they used 20 years ago that people have debunked 100 times. Like we know this isn't true anymore. Like probably the best one that's a great example. All 12 apostles died for their faith. Like you don't actually have good historical evidence for that. You need to stop saying it. Okay. And there are literally apologists that still continue to say this. Like that's the part of the problem. She's playing be sober the whole time and fighting the devil. I wondered when somebody was going to make a joke about the nun doing virtual reality. It's hilarious. I mean, there's other things you could look up that nuns do that's less wholesome. There you go. Yeah, he is correct when you review the no evidence and no reason to be trusted. Yes, like you're becoming irrelevant if you're not staying current with fact checking and all this other stuff. Like if you fact check religious claims, you usually find them fairly empty. That was my largest problem as a theist and why it took me a long time because of the emotional reasons to hold on to my faith. But intellectually, it became very, very difficult very early on. Like it's hard. Yes, they hate not being in control. I did a video weeks ago talking about Gen X was like a hinge generation. We were the ones who began to question these claims and stop setting the easy. The Bible says this. Yes. The answer is yes. Um, I think what happened with Gen X is we all got dragged to church. Okay, let's be honest, Phil. You, I, everybody that we know, a lot of our parents dragged us to church. Like, but we would sit there bored out of our minds, and ended up, some of us became believers, but others of us were like, yeah, as soon as I'm 18, I'm out. And that's kind of how it started. And it's been going on. And millennials, they completely turned off the church. Like they started to walk away fairly quickly. And I think it's that era where you're starting to get more information available. People are looking things up. The 90s, you see the internet kind of really becoming more popular. So Gen X and the early millennials are like looking at stuff and saying, you know what, this doesn't make any sense, and these claims don't follow. So I'm not sure this problem is a legit problem the way he states it. You are becoming irrelevant because you're not dealing with what's happening in your society. Like you're not understanding that you can't keep making these claims. It's all downhill from there. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, using the armaments from 20 years ago, they're using the same. Yeah, and really, yeah, it's Neoplatonic horseshit. So yes, I would agree with that too. Yes. Quit with the ridiculous labels. Yes. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, like there you go. Really wanted to question religion with a history, but there was always the threat of death, and also I think a lack of information. Like one of the ways to control public opinion is to control what information people get. Like if you can control the media, like there's a famous line, who's it by in the game Command and Conquer, that I resonated with me so hardly. When you take the brotherhood of non-side, it's like control the media, control the mind. Like there's an element of truth to that. Well, the internet doesn't allow you to control the media very well. Like I think in what is it, one of the Metal Gear things, they postulated this philosophically too. Like trying to keep information within a certain context at that point had become difficult, and now it's nearly impossible. Like they try, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to keep that. So yes, like you can always question things, you can always look things up, you can always do all that stuff, and that's the thing. Like we've gotten to a world where everybody's skeptical of everything in a lot of ways, and that's not a bad thing. Yes, it's insanely prophetic. Like, oh, somebody else has played the game. Excellent. But yes, I remember the dialogue there about how trying to control the context of information. Like you don't have to, like the theory was that you don't have to control every little bit of information. You just have to control the context in which it's funneled. And I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, holy shit, that's scary as shit. But I'm like, you know what? It's not too far off. So, yes, if you control the mail, you control information. Yes. Southern West Virginia is a religious hellhole. My father was sold at a young age for a washing machine and didn't get past third grade. He can barely read. All possible by religion here. Yes. Okay. So yes, but I wanted to pause on the nun playing virtual reality. I hope she's having a good time. So, but there's definitely a lot of jokes there.
Not working because they'd rather die doing church the way they've always done it than adapt and survive. Because 3, the scandal epidemic, church scandals have destroyed trust in Christian institutions. Catholic sex abuse, evangelical financial fraud, megachurch pastor moral failures happen every month with new revelations. In the past 5 years, we've seen Carl Lentz fired for moral failure, Ravi Zacharias exposed for decades of sexual abuse, Bill Hybels resigned amid abuse allegations, and Robert Morris resigned and now faces criminal charges. People are leaving not because they lost faith in God, but because they lost faith in the church. One former church member told me, "I watched my pastor preach about integrity while having an affair, and I watched church leaders cover it up. I still believe in Jesus, but I don't believe in the church anymore."
Okay, so point three, I think there's something to be said for the church scandals. Like, I remember when I was at Trinity, the Jimmy Swaggart Bible, his fall came had, and so Jimmy Swaggart Bible College was a thing. Well, they closed it down, and we had some refugees from there that came to our school instead. And scandal after scandal has been happening for a long time. In fact, it doesn't make the news as much as it used to anymore. It's like to use a newspaper analogy, it used to be page one stuff, and now it's like page eight because it happens so often. And so, do I think that had an ability? Do I think also, like what is said is true? I still believe in Jesus, but I don't believe in the church anymore. I would say that might be true for that reason. People are leaving the church. But I can tell you this, it doesn't do a lot to your credibility about talking about other things if you're covering up sex abuse scandals. Like any kind of financial fraud. I think the two pastors he mentioned with their mega churches falling apart, yeah, it has an effect because it undermines your credibility if you're saying this is like the gospel changes people and makes them into better people. Well, apparently not. Like, I don't think it works. If the highest people at that highest level of ministry are falling and failing, it kind of doesn't give you a lot of hope for anybody else, does it? Like if this person who's supposedly this man of God can't keep up the thing, then it is. So yeah, they're all monsters, yes. Yeah, every denomination has one. Like, I think Jimmy Swaggart was part of the Assemblies of God. So when he fell, and then he went independent in order because he couldn't take the 2 years off in ministry. He couldn't do that. He'd always preached accountability up to that point until he had to be accountable, and then it changed everything. And since then, there's been a rash of these things, and they don't even make front page anymore. Jimmy Swaggart was played on major news networks for like a week, and then it stopped. So, but yeah, I don't think. Yes, Ted Haggard. Yep, yep, yeah. Like it's just one of those things where what scandal does, I think, is it does cause people to lose faith in the church, but that undermines church credibility about other claims about Jesus. And eventually, like, well, what else are they lying about, or what else are they bad about? So, yeah, I can see where this is a cause, but I don't think it's as big as they're trying to make it out. Like, people aren't losing faith in Christ. I think they are losing in faith in Christ over this because they start looking at the other claims of the church and they go, well, wait a minute, what do I got that? So several rounds of Ted Haggard, yes.
Because for mission failure, most churches have no compelling mission. Ask them what they exist for, and they'll give vague answers like to worship God or to build community. But those aren't missions, those are activities. Mission answers the question, what are we trying to accomplish? What difference are we making? Why does our church need to exist? Most churches can't answer that question because they exist because they've always existed with no vision, no urgency, no compelling reason for people to sacrifice. Without mission, institutions die. And it doesn't matter how good your theology is or how beautiful your building is. Because financial.
Okay, I'm going to stop on that. I got to get to Philbert here. Yes, what was crazy about Jimmy Swaggart was he was the biggest person in the AG calling for Jim Bakker's suspension, who was also in the AG at the time. And then his own scandal came out. It was hilarious in retrospect, Phil. Because it was like, you big hypocritical piece of, it's like, it was bad. Like those years in the late 80s, early 90s were bad because of this. So here's the problem with the whole mission thing. I've known churches with great mission that have also failed and closed because maybe it's the mission that's also being questioned as to whether it's even valid in a modern world. Like, to me, the mission, the cause of Christ, all that stuff, do we even need that? So, like, yeah, yeah, I saw that too. Did anybody else notice that when they talked about sacrifice, they had the picture of the soldiers on there crawling through the crap? Like, it's like, what are, I I felt that the video at this point kind of went kind of military on me, and I'm like, what the hell? So, let's see. The first time Jimmy Swaggart was crying, he cried, "Lord, I've sinned against you." And the second time he got caught, he said, "The Lord said to tell you it was none of your business." I have to agree, Phil. That was balls of steel. That was. So there you go. But yeah, look, I don't know that the mission of the church. You can define the mission of the church any way you like. You can even give it all that other stuff, but I don't think that that's going to happen. That's going to solve the problem, because I think the problem with the mission of the church is people realize it's based on whatever the church's agenda is at the time, and I don't think that that helps you. So let's see what even kind of mission can a church even have? At least that wouldn't be just as if it were merely or secular institution. Well, they can sit there and say, like, a lot of the mission training I got as a pastor was, you need to have something about discipleship, you need to have something about evangelism, you have to have something about community and worship and stuff like that. And you had to have that all in your mission statement and then build a vision around that mission. Very corporate ideals. Okay. And so, yes, you can do that. Like, I always had something in there about that. So it becomes like, this is what we're doing for Jesus, so therefore it does something for everybody else. It's not. It's like mission accomplished, question mark. Yeah, that's kind of it. Like, he sits there and talks about it's a lack of mission. Yeah, helping the sick and poor, I don't think so. Like, that's I never saw that in a mission statement ever, John. Like, I was really big when I was a pastor into having a mission and vision and stuff like that. And I never saw helping the poor or feeding the needy or any of that crap. Like, it was never part of anybody's mission statement that I knew of. It was always about, we need to reach the lost for Jesus. We need to worship God effectively, loving Him and loving each other, and then we need to disciple people in the dogma and doctrine of the faith, things like that. So it became more about that and less about the poor and all that
Financial
stuff.
unsustainability, the economics of church don't work anymore. Churches were built on a model where most adults attended weekly and most attendees gave regularly, but none of that is true anymore. Attendance is down, giving is down, and families have less discretionary money because of student loan debt and rising costs. Buildings are expensive to maintain, with insurance costs tripled and utility costs doubled. Churches are trapped in a death spiral where decline.
Yeah, like, spreading the gospel is a lot of times part of a mission, and it often was like, what do you mean by that? The churches, of course, have economics. Come on, man, it's about money. Okay, as a former minister of 20 years, I will tell you it's about the money. Like, I never had a week where I didn't think about whether I was going to get paid or the lights were going to stay on, or, like, there was always something in the economics of a church. The churches absolutely have economics. So I don't think the elder gods claim omniscience. I don't think that they claim that. You might want to brush up on your Lovecraftian lore, because I don't think the elder gods have ever claimed omniscience. They just claim that they like human brains for breakfast mostly. Yeah, you have one. Did you mark that off on your bingo card, Cranky? Just acquiring for a friend.
Declining attendance means declining giving. Declining giving means cutting programs. Cutting programs means more people leave, and the cycle continues until closure. For 30 years, megachurches were held up as the future of American Christianity, with thousands of attendees and celebrity pastors, but the megachurch model is collapsing. Megachurches are built on celebrity pastors, but when those leaders fall, the church collapses. Gateway Church in Texas had 100,000 attendees, but after Robert Morris's resignation, attendance dropped by 40% in 6 months with campuses closing. Mars Hill Church in Seattle had 15,000 attendees, but after Mark Driscoll's resignation, the entire church dissolved within months. One former Gateway member told me, "We built our faith around a man, and when he fell, our faith fell with him." Megachurches prioritized attendance over discipleship. They created entertaining services that drew crowds but didn't create committed disciples, and now those crowds are leaving. One former megachurch pastor told me, "We measured success by attendance and budget with thousands of people and millions of dollars. But we didn't make disciples, we made consumers. And I spent 20 years building a megachurch, but now I realize I built nothing that lasts."
Okay, that's kind of been one of the assessments of the megachurch movement has been they were very shallow congregations. And I'm going to say it, like COVID kicked their ass because they couldn't meet. And so once you get rid of the hype around the services, it kind of, and they, once you got all that, it started to collapse. Like you couldn't get away from the idea that you had this central figure that was the charismatic leader of the megachurch. And once that person failed or fell, it kind of destroyed itself. Like Mark Driscoll, like Mars Hill Church was a very interesting example. That once that issue was gone, they literally in a couple of months dissolved, like they didn't have a church left. Like, and that's the problem with a lot of, so, it's almost like churches exist in a capitalist society. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, the thing about Mars Hill, I think one of the Mars Hills was in Grand Rapids, just south of me a little bit, as I recall. But yeah, it didn't do well either. Like there were several, like when I was still in the Assemblies of God, we had several churches that were at megachurch level, like 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 people attending. And they collapsed as well. Well, that's funny because the Orthodox people that come here, since they say the Orthodox is the true church and the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, is the false one. Yeah, according to them, you're like the whore of Babylon. So there you go. So congratulations. We have another claim of being the true church and no evidence for it. And other people disagreeing that are Christians. It's great. So I don't even have to do any work on that. The other Christians will do work on that for me. So yeah, mega churches are collapsing, and I've seen a lot of stories about that. It gets interesting with mega church pastors on TV because the camera angles have changed. We try to get that angle where the crowd's also in the background now. So yeah. No, I didn't. No, I think the problem with a small church pastor, okay, is that usually a small church pastor is very content to be that, or they're very sincere believers that just don't like the mega churches either. Understand that a lot of small church pastors hate mega churches too, because the church used to be made up of like small churches of 70, 80 people where a single person could be in charge, and you could have a lot of those churches instead of one big mega church. And the mega churches kind of killed the small church. It's kind of like what Walmart did to small business. Like, and I work at Walmart, so I got to be careful what I say, I suppose. But it's kind of like that effect. The mega church had that effect on small churches too. It killed a lot of them, but now they're dying. And so now what? So, oh, there you go. Western Orthodox. It's okay, Craig. I'm sure the chat will take care of it. But yeah, you making claims that yours is the true one doesn't prove anything either. And that was my only point. Like you sitting there saying you're the true church, that doesn't prove anything. That's a claim without evidence. So
Not every church is declining, so let's look at who's succeeding, because this reveals what actually works.
Maybe.
Pentecostal and charismatic churches are the only major Christian movement growing in America. They offer
Okay, I got to pause there because I had to look that up, like to see if Pentecostal churches and stuff were indeed growing. Yeah, they're growing, but the percentage of growth is not very high. Like it's 1 or 2% a year. But they are the only ones that are growing. And he's going to make some pretty good observations about it. So I'll let him do that.
emotional engagement with experiential worship that people feel. They believe God acts today with healing and miracles, and they adapt quickly to cultural changes. Churches serving immigrant communities are thriving, with Korean churches, Hispanic churches, and African churches growing because first-generation immigrants bring strong religious commitment. But here's the warning. Immigrant churches face the same trajectory as Lutheran churches, where first generation thrives, second generation participates, and third generation leaves.
Yeah, like, and that's also another one that is growing. Like, immigrants do form churches, and they often get good, solid churches for the first and second generation, and then they kind of decline after that as well. That's pretty well known as well. But once again, you're not growing because the message is necessarily true or people are excited about that. It's just you're coming from a certain culture where religion is more central, and so you build a church to keep that. But over time, you just like drift away from it. So I'm not sure that's legitimate growth, but I would say the Pentecostal church does grow because it has an experiential element. It's a very experiential Christianity. And so it tends to that. So yes, they offer emotional trauma. Yes. Uh, so we're kind of hostile. No, I will give my chat this. You guys are very knowledgeable. Most of you have handled so many pre-suppers that I don't even have to do anything anymore. So I just don't have to. I keep waiting for a more traditional apologist to show up with those arguments, and then I can kind of deal with them. But pre-suppers, you guys have got down. I don't really have to do. New games today, an analogy to maybe people nowadays who prefer indie games to big budget AA games because they feel more personal or inauthentic or whatever. Yeah, like I can see that being a good analogy for the church. Like I think one of the things you're going to see with the mega churches breaking up is you're going to see a revival of like smaller churches, maybe, or churches that meet in people's houses. Like the house church movement is something it's hard to get numbers on because it's people meeting in people's homes. So there is a house church movement in the United States. And so I can see like a lot of people leaving their mega church movement and forming maybe a group on the internet of 20, 30 people that used to attend that church. They still believe in Jesus, but they're not going to meet at the grand level anymore. I think you can see that. So that might be it. So so there you go. Oh, why should Jesus, who expected the world to end with a lifetime of apostles, start a church? Yeah, that's kind of why we know some of the pseudo Paul is pseudo Paul. Because Paul, before pseudo Paul, talks about the end of the world a lot, doesn't seem to want to organize the church at all. And then the later Pauline epistles, all of a sudden he's interested in church organization. So, yes. Yeah, I'll back you on that, Brent. I will. Yeah. You like the idea of the Catholic Church being the church? Let them have it because then they have to defend all the stupid shit the Vatican is doing. Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Thanks. So much as an after bro. The Catholic Church is the one true church with altar bros. There you go. Yes, indies aren't as predatory too. So like I can see where like a lot of sincere believers might leave their mega church environment and form a small group house church, and that'll be very difficult to keep track of statistically because house churches we can only do estimates on how many there are because they don't keep like official records. They don't file for 501 exemption. So yeah, especially all the crusades. Yes. So hell will not conquer it. Yeah. Well, so much for that idea. So yes, but yes, Pentecostal churches, immigration formed churches are growing, but that makes sense for certain reasons. But the rest of them are in decline.
Some churches are growing by being unapologetically theological. They teach doctrine, they expect commitment, and they make discipleship central. One pastor told me, "We don't try to make church easy or entertaining because we teach the Bible seriously. We expect people to serve, and people are responding because they want something worth giving their lives to." Churches that genuinely serve their communities are growing. One growing church in Detroit focuses on community development with job training programs and financial counseling. The pastor
See, now I have to stop there because that actually is a legit way that the church could become relevant again. Whereas if they took the money that's given to them and they start helping with job training programs, they have, they focus on their food pantries, their community outreach and sense of being compassionate to other people. I can see the church as it implodes, particularly with all the political involvement, when the political involvement kind of implodes on itself. I can see a lot of churches getting back to this as a way of saving their ass, because when you start to actually help people get through their actual problems, people start to form a commitment to that. Now, the other guy that talked about we're going to teach the Bible full and unadulterated, that also has an appeal. Um, there's a lot of Christians that want the true Christianity. They want the real deal, and taking it up a notch as far as doctrine, theology, membership requirements, being committed to something real and real in that sense, quote sense. Yeah, I see. Yeah. So there you go. Expand the office service. Yeah, I mean, the Church of Fangs is growing pretty well. We're all right. Except that rabid atheist guy. Not sure about him. So there you go. But yes, I can see this as a means of getting a church back to relevancy. Like, let's find job training programs. Let's get people what they need to do to get a better career, a better job. I can see absolutely that making a church something attractive to some people. So the mutual aid work. I still don't get why it should be a needs to be tied to. Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't need. You can still kind of go after such churches, Evan, saying, "Well, does that need to be tied to a religion? Why don't you just create a job training organization or trade a community action thing? Like you could have a community action center and these are the things we do. Please give to us. You could make it a 501 even as a charitable organization, but you don't have to connect it to a religion." And so that's kind of would be my point. Well, why do you need the religion for that? Like, why can't you just do that because you need to do it? So,
pastor told me, "We stopped asking people to come to our building because we went to them, we served them, and eventually they wanted to know why." What does this mean for the future of American Christianity? Let me give you 4 predictions.
okay, 4 predictions. Let's see. I want to hear the fluffle on how you guys think about how these predictions are going to go. These 4 predictions, what are they going to be like? All right. So I heard them and I'm like, I'm not sure that they're going to be good, but we'll see.
First, multiple denominations will functionally cease to exist within 20 years, including the Episcopal Church, the Presbyterian Church USA, and the United Methodist Church.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. I think he's correct. I think those mainline denominations, unless they have a radical change in how they do business and the way they present themselves, I agree that without new members, their aging congregations are absolutely going to kill them. Like it's going to be true. That's probably going to be true. So there you go.
American Christianity will become increasingly non-denominational. Second, thousands of church buildings will be sold in the next decade and converted to apartments, restaurants, or demolished. This represents the largest transfer of religious property in American history.
It would indeed represent that. That's probably pretty true. You're going to see these church buildings either be demolished and cleared, making way for other development, or you're going to see them converted into something else. And like he talked earlier about breweries and apartment buildings and things like that. So um, I don't know if they'll completely disappear. I think they may survive, but I think they're going to be like small denominations. They're not going to have the big effect. You might be right about that, Dragon. Right? I think it's probably pretty true. But yes, I think the fact that you're seeing, yes, there's going to be a lot of church buildings closed, and they're going to have to be made into something else. Okay, like it's going to have to be do something. I don't know. You would? You went? You'd be just if the I don't think you'd be that disappointed. I don't know if it'll make rent lower. I mean, more apartment buildings should make rent lower, but it doesn't always work that way. There's a reason why developers don't always want to develop an apartment building because they can charge higher rent if they don't. So,
Third, the pastoral profession is in crisis with seminary enrollment down 40% because young people don't want to serve dying churches. Within 10 years, there will be a severe shortage of pastors.
that's not actually going on a limb because I know seminary enrollment has been down all the way across. Interesting enough, my alma mater, Asbury Theological Seminary in Kentucky, has actually showed an increase in enrollment for the last 7 years, but they're one of the few. And but the rest of them, seminary people, are definitely dropping. You also see a lot already. There's been a kind of a shortage of pastors and priests already showing itself, and it's only going to get worse. So if you have that problem, because nobody's going to go into a profession where you can't even guarantee that you're going to eat tomorrow. So like they're going to get away from that. So you're going to see, if you see anything, you might see a large increase in bivocational pastors where they're working another job and being a pastor. That might solve that problem. But yeah, we're already seeing this. So all he's saying is it's going to get worse. So it's going to get worse. So turn churches into real strip malls with actual strippers. I agree with what you said there. The local churches who do a lot of community stuff and home cells will survive. The mega churches will fade away. I think you're right about that. I think that's the thing. So, yeah, I also see this as a factor too, Dragon Rider. I think you're right about that. Like, because the younger generation is less religious, there's going to be less interest in going into the priesthood or the ministry or something like that, being a pastor. Like if you consider Gen Z is like you got 57% of them that haven't even gone into the church ever in their life. Like why would they be interested in the ministry in the first place? Like I don't think that's it's not something that's they're going to be interested in doing. So let's see what the fourth prediction is.
Fourth, churches face a choice: innovate or die. Churches that adapt will survive, and churches that insist on doing things the way they've always been done will close. Innovation doesn't mean compromise. It means finding new ways to accomplish the timeless mission of making disciples. Here's what every church.
Okay, now as far as adaptability, I think that's been generally true of the church in general, literally since its inception. Christianity has always either sought to adapt, assimilate into something or whatever in order to survive, and that's choose. Churches are closing. It's not a bad idea. Yeah, we're not saying it's a good. We're not trying to help these people. I'm just looking at the numbers and looking at the report and saying, are they? See, because I want to know if the church is on the right track to rebounding, and I hope that they miss it. Like I know, as somebody who deconverted, like what it would really take. Like how about some actual evidence for your claims? I think that's very important in a modern day that's dealing with that. But yes, closing churches isn't a bad idea. So i I don't think he means start innovating this way, Evan. Like, does he mean stop playing pretend and acknowledge reality and thus stop being religious altogether? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that that's right, and I kind of disagree with him too, Dragon Rider. I think the problem with the church is he thinks that innovation without compromise to the main message of the gospel is going to solve the problem. And my problem is the main issue of the gospel is a problem in and of itself. Like, there's a lot that goes along with that gospel. Like, you can only be moral if you're a Christian, that argument that's made. You can only do this if you're a Christian. You can only do that if you're a Christian. Like, there's a whole packle of things in that gospel message that are part of the problem. Okay. And when you can fact check a lot of that stuff instantaneously, you can adapt and be innovative all you want. Sooner or later, that word innovate is going to mean we're going to straight up have to lie. Like, you're going to straight up have to lie or be deceptive. And I think that's going to be a problem. Like, I don't think, see, I disagree with you because I think he's on the wrong track. I think this video creator, whether it's AI or whoever, doesn't seem to get the fact that it's the gospel message itself. It's the central tenets of the resurrection of Jesus Christ and all that stuff. That's the problem. Like, your apologetics is awful. It's so bad you're not even keeping your own people in. So why would it convince anybody else to join? So his kind of innovation won't work. Like, it's like what he's doing. Okay. Is having an app. Yeah, they're basically saying they need a gimmick that'll hook and pull them in. For example, the street Bible that said Jesus is going to see his homies. Yes, pretty much. Not to mention that proverb that basically calls atheists fools and bad people. Yes, and that's the issue. Like, you have a twofold problem in the church as far as I can see. It's not a question of innovation. It's a question of your gospel claims not being verifiable. And then you flip around and you're very mean to a large group of people. Like, the evangelicals right now that are Christian nationalists are very mean to immigrants. And like, immigrants are some of the most religious people they could have, but they go after them. And then they wonder why, like we had the one congressman say Muslims don't belong here. So now you've alienated all the Muslim believers. You had another person talking, had Trump talking about how certain people aren't genetically right. And I'm like, what the literal, yeah. And so, like, it is, they're coming after atheists with their generalized attacks that don't mean shit. Like, it's like, would you please, quit this stuff? Okay. I think the problem with the writer of this video is he doesn't seem to realize that the gospel is the problem itself. It's not about being innovative with the gospel. It's about the gospel truth claims being problem. So, see you later, Martin. Yeah, I know. We're getting to the end of this thing, but
Leader and every Christian needs to understand. Lesson 1. Your church is not guaranteed to survive, no matter how long it's been there or how beautiful the building. Every church is one generation from extinction, and if you don't reach new people, you will close.
I think that's pretty much a no-brainer. Like, that's just basic things. So, yes, it is. Like, there are certain places. There are places where atheism is illegal and you can get killed for it. Like, we run into that with the clergy project every once in a while, because we'll have somebody join the clergy project as like a Muslim religious leader, an Islamic religious leader, and we have to keep it on the down low where they're at because they could end up dead. So it happens. So he's not wrong on this one. He's just not right about the reason for it.
Lesson 2. Adaptation is not compromise. Churches must adapt to reach new generations, and this doesn't mean compromising the gospel. It means finding new ways to communicate timeless truth. The gospel doesn't change, but methods must.
I don't think innovation's the answer. I think you need to get to your central core truth claims and back them up with some actual facts. Like, I think that's been the problem all along. And now what's happening is, in the Western world, you have such an access to instant information that no amount of innovation will stop that. Like, and Fred makes about, how has this been a timeless message about the gospel? Because the message of the church has changed about what the gospel is itself. So depending on who you talk to. So there's assumptions behind that one. Yeah, there's been some claims like that. Yes. Like if you're not right, like, I think the one I saw today is like, these people aren't genetically like right. I'm like, what? Yeah, it's not really timeless at all. So yeah, I think he's got a problem there too.
Lesson 3. Mission trumps preservation. Churches that focus on institutional preservation die, and churches that focus on mission survive. Stop.
Not necessarily true. I've seen very mission oriented churches that failed, and it's because the mission wasn't accepted by the congregation. So you can be mission oriented all you want. So, yes, eugenics alert. So,
Trying to preserve your church and start trying to reach people. Lesson 4. Buildings are not the church. Many churches are dying because they can't afford their buildings, so let the building go. The church is people, not property, and it's better to meet in a school cafeteria with a growing congregation than maintain an empty building.
I can say that that's valid. Like, I think part of the albatross around the church is owning land and property. And I think, the whole tax exempt status thing, all that stuff. I think there is a possibility of a growing house church movement with all the churches closing down. I think you could see some growth in that, maybe. We'll see. So, Klein will continue as long as they maintain no delusion. You can make it loom pretty, but it remains ugly and a message people won't come. Yes. In my place in social studies and education, atheists are portrayed as asocial, antisocial extremists, but not officially designated as undesirable organization extremists. Okay, for now. Yeah. Well, that's kind of I remember when I had a discussion about could they make not being religious, you have to be religious as a thing for public office again. And so all that won't happen because of the 1960 court case that kind of made that illegal at the Supreme Court level. And I'm thinking, yeah, but I just saw what they did to Roe v. Wade. Okay. And so you could get rid of that court case, and then all of a sudden in 8 states of the union, we could have atheists that can't run for public office. So, this is a constantly changing landscape, and you need to be aware of it. So, transferring to a Torah to somebody's apartment for services tomorrow. Yes.
Lesson 5. Discipleship over attendance. Stop measuring success by attendance and start measuring by discipleship. Are you making committed followers of Jesus?
Okay, I got to redefine the word discipleship here for our purposes. That's indoctrination. Now, I'm going to tell you something. He's on to something on this one. I think if you are much more successful in indoctrinating people, you're going to keep people long term. And so just change that word from discipleship to indoctrination, and I think you get the right idea. And he is on to something with that one.
A church of 50 committed disciples is healthier than a church of 500 consumers. Lesson 6. Neither progressive nor conservative guarantees success. The ELCA went progressive and declined. The LCMS stayed conservative and declined, and the Methodists split with both sides declining. The issue isn't theological direction, it's relevance, mission, and accessibility. Lesson 7.
Yeah, I would say that that's probably pretty true because they've had decline regardless of which way people have gone on the conservative liberal perspective in church. So it hasn't, neither direction has helped them. So we'll just put it that way.
Change now or close later. Don't wait for demographics to force change because by then it's too late. Adapt from strength, not desperation, and change while you still have resources, people, and options. 15,000 churches will close in 2026 with 41 churches every day and 287 every week. A tradition that survived 2,000 years is collapsing in America, and most Christians don't even know it's happening. This is the collapse no one is talking about, but we need to talk about it. Because the future of American Christianity depends on whether we're willing to face reality and change.
Okay, that's kind of the end of the video. The rest of it's kind of like recap and all that stuff. So I'm going to pull that down. But I don't know. I think there's some validity to what he says. I just don't think that some of the other things that are said are going to be, until you address the essential truth claims of your Christianity where it can survive more criticism. I don't think you're going to see growth in the American church. But I also caution everybody, this is talking about North America, particularly the United States and Canada. So you have a lot of, like, in Europe and Australia, you probably already have seen this decline of the church, and now we're seeing it here, and everybody's getting alarmed. But there's other places in the world, like Latin America is still very strong religiously. You have a strong religion in Africa, the Asia area. I don't know, maybe Paul. I don't know how it's doing in like Eastern Europe these days, but there's those like the end of Earl. Yeah, I know. I just wanted to discuss this issue because I think for atheists, like we're all get alarmed, okay, about all the things that are happening in our world where the theists seem to be louder and more boisterous. And the problem is with a lot of these theists, I think what's happening is the foundation is crumbling underneath them. And I think they know it. And I think they're afraid. And one of the things that this is going to have an effect on, if I look at it politically, too, these same people that are in the church that are dying off and someday won't be there, and a lot of churches will collapse, you're going to also see them not vote anymore. Okay. And so, what happens at that threshold, I'm very interested in seeing. Like when the religious effect is much, much lessened, what America votes for and decides is good stuff. It's going to be interesting. But I don't know. We're also like, I also worry about like Great Awakening type revivals where people get totally brainwashed about stuff, and that can happen. So, no. Um, I have to do with fangs. Okay. Hold on. Let me illustrate this point because it's a good point to illustrate religiosity. Let's see if I can find the proper the proper image for this. Um, yes, there it is. There we go. All right. See, this is the actual image from the Annunciation of Mary. And Fangs is actually announcing it to her, but she saw the angel Gabriel. Poor girl. Um, Fangs is also very drunk at this moment because he's accidentally got Marilyn Monroe impregnated back in the '60s, and so he's trying to deal with the problem. He gets drunk, zips off into the past with the zygote, and implants it in Mary. It's an action he has regretted for many years because Mary's child Jesus is actually his, and Yahweh is just kind of taken over because the boy got popular. So there you go. I don't know if he endorses Jesus as a son of a deity. He is kind of actually a son of a demigod, but there you go. Yeah, well, there you go. But that doesn't make it Christian. The Christians are all heretics. Like they are heretics, all of them. Like the entire Christian movement is a heresy compared to Fangsology. It is the ultimate heresy to Fangsology. So there you go. So there you go. But yes, so there you go. Yeah, the Marilyn Monroe thing is great because Jesus is often portrayed as white, and I had to figure out how to get that to be so, and because Fangs is like a black bunny, and it's like how do I get Jesus to be white, and you just make it Marilyn Monroe's kid. So there you go. So all of Christianity is heresy. There you go. But that illustrates the ridiculousness of religion quite well. And by the way, folks, I have as much evidence for that claim of Jesus's origin that the Christians do. I absolutely have as much evidence, which is zero. Yes, they are the ultimate unfollowers of Fangs. Like they are the heretics, the heretics. So this is all fangs heretical. Thus, all Christians are secretly fangs. I mean, yes, they're much like the Catholic Church defines Protestants as wayward brethren. We define all Christians as wayward brethren for the Church of Fangs, but they're heretics unless they repent. Second coming is the least she can do if I put the effort into it. Sorry. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I have as much, and yeah, I get it. But American Christians always portray Jesus as a white man. And I'm like, well, okay, if Marilyn Monroe is his mother, that explains a lot why he suddenly becomes a white boy that's really good looking. Like, I can see that. And then, of course, he has the divine powers from fangs. So, because if you think about Jesus's miracles, they're kind of tricksy. They are, like walking on water. Like that could come in real handy if you're trying to like get to somebody's garden to steal their vegetables. Like, yes, you're all inherently fangsons. Okay, like this is perfect presuppositionalist right here, Cranky. You're doing well. Applaud, sir. Clap, clap. You're getting it. But yes, like it's absolutely true. Like all Christians are actually presuppositional Fangsians. Like you have to use fangs as logic in order to be Christians. So there you go. Well done, sir. Yeah, people did slander her for having like 12 abortions. This may be one of them. So I you got to understand, I have this affinity decibel for like the 1930s through 50s pinup girls because they're very classic and I like what they are and what they do and Marilyn is right in that genre. So it's like, good old Norma Jean. So check my messages. Uh-oh. What did we do? Oh, okay. Hold on. All right. Yeah, I'm about to. Hold on. I got to put this in the proper file so I can even find it later. Okay. Okay, I'm going to get that, and we will get this up on screen there, Earl. There we go. All right, I'm going to make myself. There we go. Vintage Movie Night with the Fluffle Discord, Friday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. There you go. I just now noticed some of the characters you put in this, Earl. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, Miranda, not much. I mean, you can watch the stream, but it's like a lot of discussion on what's happening in the American church. And the video content creator offered up some suggestions that we critiqued of how to save the church. It's not going to go well. So, yeah, she really wanted children. Yeah, she was definitely shamed a lot for her behavior. And there's definitely some very famous men she slept with. So I don't know. The real question is, why do Christians deny the absolute truth of Jesus's biological father being Fangs? Like, yes, I don't know why they do that. So there were a lot of accusations from the religious right back then. So Marilyn Monroe is a very tragic figure to me. Very much the victim of her time. So she just didn't fit into anybody's mold, and that was a problem for a lot of people. So I don't know, tonight as well, probably. I do believe. I think we're doing the testing tonight. So, but yes. And I don't know the term vintage, Earl, like some of the movies you suggested that are vintage, they're making me feel old. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, Miranda is chaos. I am chaos. Her and Fangs get along well because he says the same thing. He is chaos. So there you go. So there we go. There we go. But yes, I just noticed some of the key, like Earl. The fact that you found another use for Rancor Seeker just, I. It won't be every Friday. Move it to Saturday. We'll see it. Yeah, we're going to experiment with this to see how it goes, guys. Like some people in the Fluffle have, expressed interest in getting together away from the streams, and I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. It's healthy for us to do that. So yes, it was brilliant. And the little tooth hiding behind you. And let's see, we got radishes, we got Asho Bear, you got the popcorn emoji that if you remember, you can use. The more onions are in there. The Goblin Queen's in there. Look at all this stuff. This is good stuff. So, yeah, I mean, we're not expecting everybody to make everyone. Like, it's like my streaming. I'm going to be streaming Monday through Friday. I don't expect everybody to make every stream. I appreciate it if you do. But yeah, like we're not mandating anything. This isn't the church, people. Like, this is just the Fluffle of Fangs. We're very, very open here. So yes, but yeah, it's the popcorn one. So yeah, but it's good stuff. Lawrence Olivier, man, that guy. So there you go. Hey, Jacqueline, good to see you. But there you go. There's the vintage movie night. We're gonna give this a go and see what happens. We really are. We all talk about sometimes the lack of community in the atheist community, so we're going to try to get us. So it might be. It might be. Yeah. I mean, I don't stop you from going to other streams, Evan. Do I? You can go enjoy. You can go enjoy other people's stuff. Not tying anybody down here, unless you're into that sort of thing. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. But yeah, I think it's a good experiment. I think if it works out, then we'll have another way to kind of hang out together, and I think that would be cool. So I am. Um, just to kind of recap for you, Jacqueline, just so you know, the guy reiterated the statistics. Like, if the statistics hold true this year, you'll see 15,000 churches closing, and I'm not crying a tear about that. Um, the average age of most people going to church these days is well into their 60s. So they're one generation away basically from ceasing to exist just because of attrition. So, and the concern for the church these days is how to get younger people into it. And the problem is Gen Z isn't having it. The millennials have never had it. And Generation X walked away from it holding up their middle finger. So, so it's not going well, and I'm kind of celebrating that to a certain extent. Like, I wish I could see a lot of these churches becoming community centers where they like actually deal with helping the poor and soup kitchens and job training and all that kind of stuff. I think that would make a great community project. So there you go. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, he left after a little while because he realized I wasn't going to react to his shit. I was letting you guys do it. But we get pre suppers every once in a while. It's just the way it is. Okay, there we go. YouTube in it. I don't know. There you go. That's very fair. I'm just saying. I'm just being fair. Your profile is considered terrorist, extremely edgy. I don't know. I kind of like it. I've always liked that one. The problem the church is that more concerned with getting the church into young people than the other way. Yeah, that might be the problem. I think the real, like, when people ask me, why are there so many sex scandals in the church? It's repressed sexuality. You can't do that. Like, if you repress people's expression of sexuality, they will eventually secretly do so. Like, it will happen. You can't repress basic human behavior for too long. It's like the last 2 weeks on Red Letters Red Flags, we've been talking about thought crime, anger and lust and all that stuff. And it's like, these are basic human emotions. You cannot repress them, because sooner or later they will come out. So so there you go. But yeah. Shut it off as more. Shut it off as more of a time. There you go. There you go. But yes, like, I don't know. I just, everybody, when I look at what's happening in the church, it offers me some great encouragement, especially with things that are going on. Like, I am not as worried about the long term. It's just getting through the short term that, as an atheist, it might be a little difficult for a while. So keep your head down, folks. But yeah. What do you mean you can't just? Of course, you can't. Listen, every society, regardless of, like, if you have like repressive rules around basic humanity, sooner or later people will find a black market to express it. It will happen. Like, look at every prohibition of sin, quote unquote sin, that has ever existed in any society, and I will show you an underground black market where that sin is allowed to be expressed. So there you go. Everyone must be saved before it's too late. Yeah, good luck. I don't think that's happening. But yeah, like, it's very much like that. They're like, this video was very telling in the fact that the guy was very focused on, we got to get back to the mission of the church, and like, you don't even have an agreement about what that is. Yeah. And like, at that point, the video kind of became judgy of other churches that are closing. Like, he's trying to be sympathetic to the closing churches, but then he's offering advice like, I think you might want to worry about that core message. I think that might what you mean. No. Oh, he's resting. Okay. All right. He's resting. There you go. Hi, Fred. It's good to see you, Fred. All right, folks. Well, I think I'm just going to call it a night. It's been a great one. I've enjoyed the discussion. I think this is an interesting one. Next week, I do start broadcasting every day, so I'll also be on Tuesdays as well. So it'll be Monday through Friday, 5 out of 7 days a week, and at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whether or not that's daylight savings time or not depends on your local neighborhood, which I hated today. I got to tell this story before I close. I'm coming home from work today. It is snowing. Like, it is coming down. I can't even see like 5 feet, and it's dark. And I'm thinking to myself, if there wasn't any daylight freaking savings time, I might be able to see more because the sun would be out. So there you go. There you go. So, but yes, you got saved from the church. There you go. There you go. That's a good way to get saved. Yes, but yes, that reminds me, what black market exists for a prosperous future society? Would people's memories and moments of extreme and unusual emotions be vulnerable to restricted? Maybe. Like, the problem, like, anybody who studied economics, very simple, basic economics. The moment you make something illegal, you also create a black market for it. There will be a black market. It doesn't matter what it is, what you're selling. That is the black market. If you made water, drinking plain water, illegal, there would be a black market for plain water. Like, so there you go. But thanks everybody for stopping by. Appreciate all of you guys. It's been awesome. We got vintage movie night coming up with the Fluffle at the Fluffle Fangs Discord. So keep your eye on that. It's fine. It's absolutely fine, man. There's always chaos here at the end of my streams. People always try to interject last minute things. But thanks everybody for stopping by. Appreciate all of you. May Fangs, the wonderful, glorious demigod of mischief and mayhem, nibble on all of your hearts. May he purify all of your vegetables with his sharp, pointy teeth. May he also not take your stash. And a good way to avoid him taking your stash is to put a circumcised carrot on that stash. That way he will maybe take the carrot instead of your stash. So make sure you do that. Also, make sure that you take a moment to enjoy baby Fangs and look into his very large pupils on his red eyes. And it'll give you a warm, fuzzy feeling in time. And try not to be confused about things. But, Fangs is about chaos. He is a god of chaos. So thanks for that. Witness to all your Christian friends about how they are actually, using the grounding of Fangs to justify their Christianity. We'll do that one too, Cranky, just for you. So there you go. There you go. But thanks everybody, nom and everything. And as always, folks, live your best life. You only get one go around, so then it's over. So you want to take all your time, your money, your energy, and give it to yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'd be happier if you do. And don't waste it on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you all next time on Monday, and we'll do another fireside chat, and we'll see you then. So thanks for all that, and appreciate all of you, and thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you all next time then. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end to find out how you can support the channel better. Of course, there's always the more normal notions of just hitting that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit your notification bell, and share the video with your friends and family that you think would be interested. That's always very appreciated. If you want to support the channel in a more tangible way, there's several options. You can super chat or super thanks in the comments or during a stream. Those are always very welcome. But you also can become a member of the channel. Members have certain perks like getting the videos early, things like that. They also have some good custom emojis during chat. So all of these things are good benefits to members, but they also support this channel and its work to continue to normalize atheism and deconversion, for which I'm very appreciative. It keeps me going, and it keeps me as a content creator being able to do more and more as a content creator. So if you choose those methods of support, thank you very much. And I appreciate you once again for staying to the end and listening to other ways that you can support the channel. Appreciate it. Thanks, and I'll catch you next time.